allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please silence your electronic devices as needed. We don't have any students tonight. Motion to bring the agenda to the table made by Mr. Groden, seconded by Ms. Greco. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to remove item H1, retirement. There's none tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Evans. Motion to adopt the agenda as corrected, made by Mr. Groden, seconded by Ms. Galligan. Any discussion? All in favor? Support. Approval of draft minutes, June 20th, 2024. Motion by Ms. Galligan, seconded by left side of the room. Ms. Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered. We do not have any presentations this evening. So it hurts me, but it also makes me happy. Moving on to the consent agenda. Ms. Greco.
I motion that we approve consent agenda items F1 to L2.
Do I have a second on that? Made by Ms. Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered. Thank you very much, Ms. Greco. Oh, wait. No, we're good. Thank you very much. Congratulations to any folks that we just affected. Information, reports, and discussion, or roundtable. Everybody's been busy, but I'm sure we've all gotten a little bit of a breath the last little bit. So I'll start with Ms. Jersey.
Nothing to report other than, of course, graduation.
Very much, Ms. Jersey.
Congratulations to everyone.
Holmes.
Nothing to report.
Mrs. Riley.
Graduation was wonderful to witness, and congratulations to all the students. I'm not sure if this was within the time since last meeting on the 20th, but I did look, I did attend the Chase Elementary Moving Up ceremony for the 5th grade / DARE program. I was trying to see what date that was, but that's always a true pleasure to watch at Chase. Chase Elementary School. They do a fabulous job. I love that they have the whole ceremony outside with the tree line right there and the shade from the trees on the other side, and they combined it with the DARE program this year. So if I said that last meeting, I apologize, but I believe that was perhaps after the 20th, and it's a true pleasure. So great job to MC Chase faculty.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brad. Mrs. Stalton.
I guess just to note that I attended the 8th grade moving up on the 24th, which was for our 8th graders. I'm looking forward to them.
Mrs. LaRusso.
I also attended graduation. It was a beautiful ceremony. On the way here, I saw some football players out on the football field.
You did?
I did, and that makes me extremely happy to see some athletes out there. Just want to share that.
Nothing to report.
Galligan.
I too attended graduation, and congratulations to all our graduates. I don't know if this is the proper place, but I was wondering if moving forward for graduation next year, if maybe we could start the process a little sooner for parents so they know kind of maybe we could pick the date or talk about some things moving forward while it's fresh in our brains to make things a little bit better. Just putting that out there. But maybe the committee meeting is a little earlier as opposed to later as we move forward for the next year.
I'll talk about it.
Greco.
I also attended graduation. It was great. It was a good thing we came inside, maybe like 15 minutes in. The clouds erupted, so that worked out. The only other thing I have is for board members who might be attending the Leadership and Education Conference on the 19th and 20th. I just looked at my calendar and realized we actually have a board meeting that night, so I didn't know if, like, what, if people were still planning to drive up that night or just planning to do the 6 a.m. leave for Albany thing. I'm going, and so I don't know if anyone else is going, if they just talk about it. I didn't. Is anyone else going to that conference on the 19th and 20th? Okay, just me. Okay, so I'll do whatever I want then. No, okay, so I'll speak with, between Beth and Anne Marie about the hotel reservation. So, okay,
If I go, I'll go earlier, than later.
you mean like right after the meeting?
No, he needs like 4:30 a.m.
No, not that.
That's what I was gonna, I was planning to leave at 6, so just in the morning.
Okay.
So, we can talk about it. That was it.
Thank you, Ms. Greco. I also attended high school graduation. I apologize to any students if I'm a goofy guy in your picture. It was very nice. It did work out fantastic. The administration's call on going inside, because it did open up quite a bit there. So thank you to you guys for doing that and keeping everybody's health and safety first and foremost. Also the 8th grade moving up ceremony, which was very nice. So thank you to Mrs. Kozaczuk and her staff down there for doing a great job with that as well. So thank you guys for all you do, and moving on to principal reports.
Actually, I have a statement. I want to say that I saw pictures of the middle school graduation. I love the schools. That was a beautiful touch, very classy touch for middle school. Just want to have that. And as far as principal reports, do you have questions? Can I ask questions now?
Oh, we just got there. I didn't ask if you have questions yet. Are there any questions regarding the principal reports?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just gonna add on to the board table again, but I don't know if that's for another. It could just be talking about the principals. I just wanted to comment about the middle school PTO, how they did, when you said about the stoles, it made me think about how they did an amazing job with getting some prizes out to students. And it's a very great gesture, and they put a lot of heart and time into making the middle school a better place. So the fact that they weren't able to go to Dorney Park, but they were able to be gifted with Cartwright tickets and other prizes was really fabulous. So nice.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Ashley. There's some okay with people with the RJKP. So moving on to principal reports.
Yes, Chase Elementary, what are they doing that is so different compared to Cook to have these numbers? The increase in the math, like what is so different over there in comparison to Cook School? Do we know?
I wouldn't, without the Cook numbers in front of me, I wouldn't attempt to make any guesses as to why those are. Certainly, one should take into account what historical trends are. And also looking, you know, I think Mr. Brandino's done an excellent job here in crunching some of the numbers.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you know, I'd have to line them up with what the reports actually show and relative to Cook's results as well. So Ms. Gallett's crunch numbers as well. She just looks at them in a different way. So
Maybe we can have a side by side. That would be.
yeah, well, NWA puts out their own reports, and I would rely on those. And we'll be sharing those with the board later, probably with the 3 through 8 results.
Okay.
When those come out, which is usually late summer, early fall, we'll have the NWA results.
Okay, and his report was amazing. My next question is for the high school from Ms. Ford. How does she plan on doing this? Like provide targeted academic support for students who are struggling core subjects? Do we have the staff for that?
Yeah, so regulatorily wise, we have to provide AIS to students that show through test results that they are struggling students. I will say that we've provided AIS in the past, but it has not aligned necessarily with students' schedules, so it's a little more difficult at the high school to be able to fit AIS with all of the other core courses. So the schedule was put together this year very strategically to make sure that the students in, let's say, 9th grade that need math AIS can get math AIS at a time when nothing else in 9th grade required is happening. So giving them that opportunity so that we are able to successfully put students in academic support classes and then watch their progress and either continue them in there or transition them out if they've met their targets.
So the schedule for 9th graders for next year already made.
Oh, absolutely, yes,
So we know what supports are needed for the 8th graders coming up.
yes.
Okay. And then the next question is number 4, develop action plans based on data analysis to address gaps in student achievement. Are we gonna see, I'd like to see the data. And is this, I guess you're saying it's data driven, so I really look, I think the board would like to see that data to see like where they start to where they end. And also, case management. Do we have the staff for case management? Who's gonna be the case manager of the students that are gonna need it?
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to as far as case management for students with a disability or.
It says case management system as a proactive approach to support students. Assign case management to at-risk students to provide personalized support and monitor their progress. Develop individual action plans for students that address academic, social, emotional needs.
So what they're looking at is through guidance and also through, like Laura Zambridge, the secondary director, Takima and Jen, to work with students that they're identifying based on the data, that their potentials for not graduating on time, or they might be a potential for failing a class in either 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, really keeping an eye on them instead of waiting until the year before they're a senior and recognizing we don't have enough credits to be a senior next year, or waiting until the 3rd quarter where we failed 3 quarters and now they may not be able to recover. So I think we're looking to be more proactive instead of reactive. And so there's a committee that's forming to look at that, and it's mostly guidance counselors, department chairs, and director of secondary instruction, principal, and director of student support that are going to work together to make sure they're targeting students that are at risk proactively.
Sounds very good. And then it says establish clear communication channels between school and parents. So how is she going to start off the year? I'm very curious.
I think one of the goals is, because we recognize hearing from parents in the past, some, conversation here at board meetings, that the communication at the high school is not what it needs to be. So I think that's a goal moving in, to really work on where are the areas that we need to be communicating better to parents, continue communicating with them, and maybe increase some other areas where we're hearing there's some deficits. It could be, some of it's around student scheduling, bless you, letting parents know when certain events are, testing, when signups are for the SAT. So things like that, just kind of really listening to what we've been hearing and working on making that better as far as student parent engagement and communication.
Now,
And we also have to remember she's had a job for a week.
No,
2 days.
she has great ideas here. I'm just
Well,
curious.
yeah, but we also have to kind of let them develop. She might not know exactly. She has the goal of how, I'm sure she does, but we also have to remember she needs to enact and enhance and see where that actually is gonna lie.
Right, but you put it in a report here, so.
Well, that she wants to work on.
On the top of page 3, the next bullet of that section, she says, utilize technology platforms, Parent Square social media district website to streamline communication and provide timely updates. So that's
Right.
how.
Right, no, I see that.
But that was your question, right? How?
Yeah, no, I'm just, and also, to do the buddy system, well, it's not a buddy system, the mentors. I think that's a fabulous idea. Did she try this in St. John Street too, now?
I don't know the answer.
Okay.
With kids mentoring.
Yeah. I love this. I really hope that, I really want this to work, especially for the ninth graders, because they need it the most.
Ellen, you have a question?
It's not specifically about the report, but it's kind of on top of what Vicky said, so. This year, we use the Regents exams as 20% of the students' final grades, and we haven't been doing that in the past. Do we know why we changed that this year, and was it based on any type of data that the students were doing better in the Regents exams, or how did we go about that? Love that question.
So,
Let me start off by
Yeah.
saying, my understanding is it was used in the past, but not across every class, no.
so it was used, strategically across certain kids. Depending on if, from what I was told, it was used to help students boost their grade. I don't know if that's true, because as we dig into the data, we're noticing that that might not be true, and it was kind of difficult to pinpoint if it was used or not, because teachers were overriding the final grade, which they have the authority to do by adding in or not adding in that Regents. So it had not been used as a separate category since 2018-19 was the last time it was used across the board for every student. Their Regents counted as 20%. After 19, it stopped being used that way, and it was used based on individual teachers' choice whether or not they wanted to use it.
I looked at data from my students from last year, and the Regencies were not used in their final grades. I look at it this year, and they are, which made a significant difference in a couple of classes. So when I go back to the high school on the website to look at their policy or whatever they're on there, and it says to do that, so I understand it's in there, right. But I found it very surprising that we would implement that based upon no data of how our students are doing on our Regencies to decrease their overall grades, because it made a significant decrease in some of our students.
As did I.
So to be clear, that decision was made at the school level unbeknownst to many in the district office. When we became aware of it, we took some immediate actions to try to rectify it. However, as Ms. Carlin rightly points out, there are still mechanisms within school tool where a teacher may manually override, kind of do their own calculation to include. So what we uncovered was that there was mixed messages between the school administration and teacher leadership in the high school about whether those numbers should be included.
So how are we going to rectify this in the future?
Well, Ms. Carlin.
So NICEAD tells us that using a Regents exam as part of students' final grade is not advisable. And I'm actually surprised they haven't said it's not allowed anymore. They're just saying right now, we don't think you should be doing that. It's not good practice. So using that recommendation from the state education department, next year, we will not be using Regents exams as part of students' final grade. A final exam potentially, or a project potentially. We're working on what that's going to look like. But a Regents exam is not used.
Two other questions. Are we, for the PSAT that the juniors are taking in the fall, are all juniors going to be taking that, and that's going to be during the day? As it was previously in past years?
I don't know. We'll find out, get it back. We'll send it out to parents.
Okay, I just think it's advantageous for us as a district to do this for all students. The last question is.
I mean, the intention is to have all students. You asked about when time it's going to be given, that I do.
Because, I mean, previously in past years, it was done during the day, so students could go. Once it starts happening on Saturdays, then you have students not go. So it would be advantageous for us to, you do it during the school day for all of our juniors to do it. The other question is, as you were mentioning, 8th to 9th grade and Mrs. Gore's report, has the IEP been anywhere included in this to know, been told to parents as they go from 8th grade to 9th grade that this is an option in how it can assist their students?
So relative to Ms. Gore's report, she was looking at what the question arose at the last board meeting relative to the transitions that students are making from school to school. I shared that with the principals and asked them to provide details on it. At some point, either this meeting coming up or the first meeting in August. So Ms. Gore has done that in this report. As it relates to the IAP and other pathways, guidance and teacher leaders do provide that information to students on a regular basis. We do recognize that in the past, it hasn't been marketed to the extent it should have been. But we are going to be working with teacher leaders and guidance to make sure it gets out there. So
Any other questions
You
regarding
go first.
Ashley?
I have a question, based upon, what Helen was asking. So just to be clear, the regents exam is not going to be used part of the overall grade. It's going to be used as, say, a final exam at the last quarter, fourth quarter.
You know,
Just
so
like that, again, sorry.
So in the past, it was used as a fifth of the overall final grade. What we're looking at doing is using some type of measurement, whether it be a final exam, a final project, or having the discretion to just use the 4 quarters and jump it each 25% and not have anything as a fifth of the grade. So we're still working on what that looks like. It's gonna be based on, you know, discussions, and whatever the decision is will be communicated to students, be communicated to families, so that they know from the beginning of the semester what their grade consists of. So there should be, you know, a course syllabus that's handed out that is very clear. What I do know is we're not counting Regents exams as one of the percentages towards their final average.
So I suppose this is a comment. So where I work, there's a Regents exam and it's counted as under 10%, maybe 5%. But what it does is it's part of the reason for that is because it can show that sometimes that's most of the point of the class is to jump over that hurdle and score high on the Regents exam. So you're prepping for that the full year. So it's just as a comment is to say that I can still see there to be relevance in holding that to be some kind of accountability in the grade. Because what you don't want to happen is, and as you know, but you wouldn't want them to pass the class and not the Regents. But then the problem would be if you're barely passing the class and then that Regents just sinks you, because now you perhaps got a 65 on the Regents, and that's worth 5%. So I do understand all that, but I just, I suppose everyone's got opinions, but that's just what I see is that it is, from my perspective, it would be beneficial to still tie that in somehow. And to have a final exam at the end of the year, the culmination separate from the Regents. Now that's prepping for 2 different exams and possibly. So that would be a lot of time in preparation.
So our goal moving forward is to get the final grade before the Regents exam as close to what they get on their Regents. So if standards are aligned and grading is aligned to the standards, and we're using assessments as the main grade in the class, not necessarily attendance, participation, those kinds of things, then we should be coming really close, and so those grades should be about the same. So you would need to do that, and that's a goal, and we're not there yet, but that's the goal.
You have another question? I'm sorry.
So this is it's going to be communicated down to the teachers. It's not just going to be a conversation up here and the teachers they have no idea. No. Another question I have is, what about these students who don't pass the Regents? What are we doing for them over the summer?
They have the option to come to summer school. We can't force summer school, but we strongly recommend that they come. If the Regents that they failed, like for example, Algebra 2 isn't a course in summer school, but there is some Regents prep. But classes like, you know, English and US history, they fail those Regents exams, they can take prep course for that, and then they can retake that Regents in August.
And we have the prep course offered here, or do we understand summer school, but is there an actual prep course separate from summer school?
It would be the summer school class that they would take. I feel like there might be some prep courses right before.
Yeah. I think they did some review courses just before the Regents.
We do here.
My understanding, we can get more information on it. Mr. Grode?
I look at the NWEA and it says that the scores are, when it says the spring to spring, it's not going the regular September to spring, fall, spring. So third grade there is gonna be, the next jump is gonna be the fourth grade, we're doing diagonals when we're looking at the scores and the growth. So I'm looking at average of 10 points in classes, as based on the 3 different buildings. Where is the national norms or the state norms? Like, I understand the reporting and they're doing by what each cohort does, but how do they stand as far as low, no growth, low growth, high, no growth, or high growth?
So,
No, sorry, Ken.
so when we give a report with the 3 through 8 data, we'll have that data as well. There's different ways that NWA norms student growth. So some of it is based on their own projected scores for the particular grade level.
Yeah, their growth, and then also, isn't there a stretch score?
It's not really a stretch score, but they compare, like, each student has an individual growth target.
Right.
And then they also compare whatever the student's growth was to other students nationally at that grade level.
Okay,
So there's some different ways of looking at growth. So that will be in when we give the reports on 3 through 8 data, that will be in there as well.
can you include how many of the students surpassed their growth?
Yeah.
And
they-
by
they
what
tell us that-
percentage?
So the way that, and yes, the way that I can't, I don't know by what percentage, but it will say X% of students in this grade level met or exceeded their growth target.
I got that much. No, I read that. I understand met or exceeded. I wanted to know more of the numbers.
So,
Because I want
As-
to know where we're doing it really well and where we can improve.
but RIT targets change as grades increase.
Okay,
So when you get, for example, let's say 8th grade math, a typical growth range might only be 3 points.
understood.
Kindergarten math, a RIT growth might be around 15 or 16 points. So it's difficult to,
But then again, normatively with other cohorts, we're
Yes.
going to be able to compare.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. If we can
And
include
I'll
that.
give you a little primer, the math results, we were on par with peers nationally and statewide. Reading, not so much.
We consolidated Cook for the express reason of catching up and reading dog years. That if we wait until the students are in the middle school, it's already too late. You can't make a comeback from that. So I'm trying to see how we can best support our K2 to have the most growth for those students, none of which were suspended, which is a really nice number.
Yeah.
And right, you saw that? And since they're there, and I'd also hope that the board would also entertain the idea of having one of those PBIS book vending machines in every building, that we could do this in order to facilitate this love of learning and the 4 million words you need to avoid the pipeline to prison. Because I would like to see how well we can push on the bellows for this fire. And I want to soup it up as best as we can, empower the teachers while it is that we are trying to get, the literacy comes just from a book, another book, another book. Oh, let me do an audio book too, but book them, Dano.
Well, I mean, I think with all due respect, I think literacy is a little bit more involved than that, right? I mean, we're talking about science of reading and phonics and phonemic awareness.
No, I'm not talking about science reading. I know about the science of reading. I'm talking about the sheer fact of brains when they see patterns, and the patterns are from exposure, multiple exposures from different authors. But if we have a deficit of books, if we don't have a surplus, if we're not giving them, if they are not immersed and they are not putting away a book or two a week, we don't have the luxury or the depth and breadth that's going to allow our ELA grades to climb. Kudos to the math. No
Right,
slighting math
I
out
don't,
there.
I don't know that the lack of growth in reading is related to the lack of resources in the classrooms.
I got, that was my position. Okay.
That-
Next time, when we have the grades from 3 through 8, can we
Yeah.
just have it so we
Yeah.
can see normatively how it is they compare?
Way out on the side street right now.
Yeah.
Any other comments or concerns regarding principal reports?
Yes, I understand that Ms. Gore went over to the high school. There's nothing in here for St. John Street. And I'm just curious, we're talking about literacy. What programs are we going to be using in pre-K for next year?
The creative curriculum,
The creative.
we've always.
Yep. Okay, and Tom, to your question, I think a lot of that starts when they're little like that as well. Getting the love of reading there.
Personalities formed by 5.
Any other questions or comments regarding principal reports? Moving on to correspondence outcomes, none are listed at this time. Capital project update, Dr. Evans.
Certainly. So the board will find in their board docs some forms that we've submitted relative to task 4 of the 2018 project, which are the renovations at Chase relative to the removal and replacement of, not replacement of storefront windows, but removal of storefront windows and kind of making a smoother entrance as well as ceilings and floors in those classrooms, and also site work at Rutherford and I believe the paving of the 100 wing parking lot out here by the high school are all included in those documents. Also relative to capital project update, I went around to some different schools today, and one will note that at Rutherford and Cook, the ventilation updates are well underway. These are the same ventilation units that were installed at Chase last summer. Those are going on right now in a number of quite a few classrooms at Cook and Rutherford, basically all the old classrooms of those schools. Lisa and I met with BBS and Schoolhouse Construction for kind of a progress update on the capital project. The new capital project moving forward, we met yesterday. And this is I'll come back to it, but we do need to have a meeting of the capital project committee before the end of the month. I'll come back to that. So right now they're kind of marking it out as 2 phases, and they draft work to that effect. Phase 1, I'm going to kind of give a short overview of it, would be the athletic fields and Cook, the renovations at Cook. Phase 2 would be kind of the other outstanding, would be St. John Street and the renovations at Rutherford. And the other pieces of it are escaping me right now, but just think phase 1, phase 2. With hopefully construction to begin in spring of 25. They plan on having design work done by September, or a submission to state ed by September, October. Right now, they do have BBS has RFPs out for surveying, geotechnical engineering, and soil testing. So work can, that work can begin at the high school. And we saw some initial kind of draft renderings. Well, these are, I would say initial renderings, but kind of the next draft version of renderings of Panther Stadium. So that was something that they put on there that, we thought was kind of neat. And we also gave them the color scheme for Monticello Blue. It's, I can send you the number. It's kind of like Pantone 82 or something. So we gave them that so they can, when they order stuff, they can align it. Some bad news. Right now, the estimated wait time at state ed facilities planning is 30 weeks. They do, however, believe, and I think Ms. Vela has shared this before, they are anticipating that state ed will go out to third-party reviews to help expedite the workflow in facilities planning. Okay, so what that means is 30 weeks estimated approval time from data submission. Okay. So with that being said, and they also, and we can talk more about this in the capital project committee, both the architect and the construction manager recommended relative to concession stand to go relatively low key with it, not have the fryers and the ovens and the hoods and everything else. They'll talk more about that at the committee, and the committee will guide that discussion. Okay, so I want to pin down a date now if that's possible, folks. I'm looking at the week of June, July.
There you go.
Thank you. July 22nd. We would be looking at like a 5 o'clock meeting, or it could be earlier. I don't know people's summer schedules.
On vacation.
You're on vacation.
5.
How long are you on vacation for?
22nd to the 26th.
So how about the 29th?
29th through 31st, I'm not available.
Yeah, I'm out that week too.
Yeah.
How about the week of the
everyone?
15th?
Sounds like that would be a place to have it.
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
Who's going to RSA?
Monday,
Yep,
When's that?
when's that time?
that's coming just next.
When's RSA?
It is, this is Sunday, hold up. 14, 15, 16.
So that leaves the 17th, 18th. 18th, we have a meeting.
We're outstanding. That's why.
What, the recording?
18th, we have a meeting,
You know what?
Do we have policy that meeting?
not right now.
Not right now.
So we could,
You got first dibs right now.
we gotta, you guys want to do it at,
Wendy's
5:30?
5:30
Now.
on the 7th, on the 17th, 18,
5,
5:30, sold America
good. Good,
Capital.
so 5:30 on
Capital
the
idea.
18th for capital project.
Henry.
Yeah.
And then one last thing, not to, I'll talk more about the graduation ceremony in my report, but just for everyone's information, I know the board is aware of this, but the community, the air conditioning unit actually went kaput that morning of graduation, shortly after we made the call to move the ceremony inside. Those of you who had attended some of the events earlier in the month, the 8th grade moving up ceremony, Rutherford's moving up ceremony, and other things, it was operating. So it wasn't working at the athletic award ceremony. They fixed it the next day, and it had a good run until that morning. It is being repaired this summer. You all know that. And once the crane comes and starts working, we'll be sure to put the word out.
It's not getting repaired, it's getting
Getting
replaced.
replaced, excuse me, replaced.
New air handler.
Also, is there a way for us to put on our website a timeline of the new project?
Still in my.
If and when that's available, but I would express some caution with that because we know how fluid these things can
So,
be. And I would not want to put something out there that suddenly, well, what do you mean these materials aren't done,
So-
aren't in? There's a lot out of our control.
Yes.
so how about something that doesn't have deadlines, but some people in the community think because, you know, they voted on that. And, at the end of the day, they're looking for us to start digging them tomorrow. And I know we sit here, we
Me too.
discuss SCD and everything else, but they don't understand. So like, maybe something that's, just.
Countdown clock.
Aware.
On the website.
Just about the process in general, so that they understand that we need, or they can look, I don't know if it's on our website, a little category about capital projects, just so they understand like an educational thing. So they don't go, well, are you gonna be digging ground? Where are the sports people gonna play? What are we up to? I'm like, look, 30 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, I give an update to the Board of Education.
Is that during your mornings in Monticello?
No,
or
that's
just-
right now.
Some people don't tune into our stuff, so that's.
Every 2 weeks, I give an update on the capital project. And I would encourage people to do
That'll be my response.
Is anybody opposed? I got a question. Anybody opposed on the athletic page of our website that there'd be a countdown to how many months till shovels hit ground?
Yeah, you don't know when the shovels are gonna hit the ground.
Expected.
Yeah.
Alleged.
All you're doing is setting yourself.
All
up for
right.
failure.
Tried.
That's why I just said something educational, so people understand, like if they pop in, oh.
Can't get
yeah,
hit if you don't
SCD, you
swing.
just have to wait on them and they could take between a year or whatever, you know?
The thing is, we don't know,
I know we
because the
don't.
geotechnical engineers haven't even been hired yet. They haven't drilled a core to see what garbage is under there. That we're gonna have to dig
It's
down.
there.
really quick. It could be way longer than even our architects have for like the far end because of
Just talking dynamite.
ground.
Yeah, no,
conditions. Like,
and I totally understand that, I'm not, I
Yeah,
understand our
it is
position
too
too.
early to be
I
putting.
just, we went out to the community, we pedaled and we pushed and we implored them to come vote and
Good
come
work, good work.
this, and now they're looking for it to happen because they don't understand, or they don't have a child in school, or the community doesn't understand the process. So I'm not saying, I understand where you guys are at, I know it could be 2 years, I know we could hit a million problems. It's just letting them know that what the process is and how long it could take. Just educational, I'm not putting dates on anything, I'm not putting anything on anything, I'm just, these people, we implored them to come out and vote for this. They came out in the community, and now they don't understand because they don't have a child in the school. That, you know, to tune into these meetings or whatever, because we went to them, we went out to them. So now you're expecting them to come to us for information.
Well, so here's the thing, when we have something to put out, we can put it out.
Put it
But
down.
right now, we have nothing. The architects, engineers are working on stuff. They're gonna be doing that for 6 months.
Right, and you
Yeah,
saying
put
that
that
to
out.
somebody. in the
But Wendy,
community-
all Wendy's saying is she wants something out there that says, look, we have to
We
get
pay
draw,
for it.
we have, you know, the drawings go out, we get them approved, then this happens, then that happens, but at the end of the day. It's, I don't know,
What we can, I mean, certainly as we pass milestones, we'll put things out on our media and our website. But, you know, I think to do any type of, you know, here's the plan, and by April 25, this is gonna happen, by October 25, this is gonna be happen. There's just too many variables that, that could get in the way of that.
I think when.
I think, well, the other thing that what, I'm sorry, Tim. The architects will have some type, the architects and construction managers will develop some type of calendar. Once they have things for a place. We'll publish that once that's, you know, it's kind of has like.
I
rolling
guess I was just
timelines.
looking for people to understand that we have to wait on SCD, and it could be some time, it won't be next month for sure, it will be by September. It won't be- Just so they understand how long it could possibly take. That this isn't something, and it's not our doing, it's just all the things that need to come together as a process, not dates, not anything that we're held to, just that the community understands.
I agree with Wendy, because if you put out there, SED takes 30 weeks, it's what SED is, educating the community.
At a minimum.
Yeah, that's it, it's not putting dates on it, it's just
Yeah.
education.
Or where we are with an arrow. Click, 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 click.
But that 30 weeks can go up and down too.
Right, you explained that.
You know,
We have no idea at
But
this
with
point.
meeting, you know, we can try to get out information that we think is important to share when it's valuable and when it's reliable. But things are gonna change, things are gonna be discovered, things are gonna go quickly, we're gonna have supply chain issues. That's the nature of work right now.
I just know that we need another bond down the road, just like to keep the community happy, because nothing else.
Got this one passed and we got the 54 prior to that.
Right,
So,
same.
I mean, I hear you, Wendy, but this is like construction. So
I
you
know, that's your
explain to
bag,
the
I know.
public how construction works. This is the same whether you're building a, you know, a house or a track or a post office. You have to go through, you know, you have to design it. You have to go through all like the reviewing hoops. Then you have to actually get people on site to build it, and it takes longer than everybody wants every single time. But I mean, I feel like it's not a job to.
We pedaled it, we didn't say, hey, you know, just so you know, even though we.
and the
approved it.
voters approved to start the project, which occurred, we pushed the ball off the top of the hill, and the ball is starting. When we get more information and things become a little bit clearer, 54, we did get timelines of, look, we submitted in this, we should hopefully get this by then, you know,
I think a 45-second video on YouTube with Jen explaining it would be awesome.
I just had that. Like, if I wanna do it.
It's all-
anything else for capital project update?
Thank you.
Upcoming events. So as Todd alluded to earlier, Rural Schools Association is having their summer conference. Coming up, I believe Wendy and Todd are the only two people signed up right now. If you have changed your mind on that, let me know so I can pass it along to Anne Marie as fast as we can, because rooms have to get booked and everything else. The other thing that's coming up, I believe, the state convention's in October.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, the New York State School Boards Association Conference is in October. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's in New York City. If you want to go to that conference, understood, send me an email as soon as you know you want to go, so we can get rooms booked and things of that nature. I don't know how they're working parking, you know, rooms and everything else. But it would be one of those things that we're better off getting on it sooner than later, especially if we want to be wherever the conference is going to be. So if you know are going to go to that, please look into it a little bit and get back to me as soon as you can, so we can give Anne Marie and just the availability of rooms. I'm sure probably will go relatively quick, seeing as how it's New York City. And I don't know how many school boards and administrators live on Long Island, but I can only imagine they're all coming. So, especially when they can charge it to their school districts. So get that information in as soon as you can, just so we can get rooms booked and be efficient about the process.
And I believe registration opens July 30th.
So it would be nice, you know, have Anne Marie's finger over the button on July 30th at
Yes.
9 a.m. to hit the button. So any which way, if you guys can look into that, and just get back to me as soon as you can, so we can kind of get in on it early. Community events are listed. There's a few nice articles, listed there in the agenda. And, do we have any questions or comments from the public? Fantastic. Moving on to superintendent update information, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Crumley. So I wanted to recognize some new staff that are here tonight. First, joining us as a new high school English language arts teacher is Stephen Barnum. Welcome, Mr. Barnum. Joining us as a middle school English language arts teacher is alumni Alexis Costa. Welcome. And resigning from her current position, but moving forward as the principal of the St. John Street School is alumni Christine Ragland. Congratulations, everyone, and welcome aboard. All right, so some different things. Let's talk about the graduation ceremony first. First and foremost, congratulations to our graduates. Congratulations to all of the students who moved up this year. And I think you were right, actually, with the timeline. Chase was since our last board meeting, and it was during that heat wave. So congratulations to the Chase kids moving into the middle school, Rutherford kids moving into middle school, St. John Street kids moving into Cook, Cook kids moving into Rutherford, Kaiser kids moving into high school, and a special congratulations to our graduates. Now, relative to the graduation ceremony, I thought it was very well done, and I do want to preface this by saying I heard that it was the first high school graduation ceremony in the auditorium in almost 30 years. So there are certainly some logistical issues that were, I'll say relatively quickly identified by staff. However, in their walkthroughs and warm-ups were things that they had not anticipated. So I think our staff did very well. And again, the graduates were wonderful. The air conditioning was not by choice. That being said, we did have a debriefing yesterday, yesterday was Monday, with the high school administration, Ms. Carlin, Ms. Vela, and Ms. Maraglia, just to kind of review some things and talk about, kind of have the initial planning meeting for next year and stuff to take to the graduation committee once it convenes. I thought one of the logistical challenges that we had this year was having an evening graduation. Because in summertime, the odds of having a pop-up thunderstorm increase as the day progresses. Now, I know it's not science to think, well, we did 2 outdoor graduations in the morning, so that must be true. That's not science, right? But I am recommending that the board, when you do vote on the date, because what happens is you act on contracts that kind of set that date in stone, that next year's ceremony be either on Saturday or Sunday morning, back to 10 a.m. I think everyone at the table thought that was an ideal time. And given what we went through this year, I think that that's the best interest of everybody. Okay. So that was one of the big pieces. Obviously, the procession taking a little bit longer than what I think was planned. The recession, having some real issues with that, congestion and otherwise. Certainly the planners next year have ideas on how to rectify those. And I think the procession was kind of the thing that caused the bigger delay of the whole program. Program itself, once it got rolling, was also relatively consistent, but the procession and also the diploma walk from the stage back up and around, we identified that too as kind of something that took a little bit longer than anticipated. But I do want to thank our staff for everything they did to ready that ceremony on a relatively quick turnaround. Helen.
I don't know, was it brought up that if we have to move back into the auditorium, the reason why community can't walk through the school? That we have to either get a bus or we have to walk down when we don't have sidewalks or walk back up?
Well, typically when we have events in the auditorium, we don't let people walk through the building. That's our usual practice, right? If the graduation committee and the school administration are able to devise something different for graduation as a special exception to that practice, then by all means, but that wasn't discussed yesterday, but that's not off the table.
It was just a little tricky,
Yeah.
especially being at night, it was dark, people were walking, there's no sidewalks.
Yep.
That nature, so would have been alleviated by being able to walk through the school.
And the other thing that was, I'm glad you mentioned dark, when the ceremony was over, it was dark out. So 7 o'clock clearly is not night. Anything else on that? Vicky?
As far as moving graduation, Sundays, people go to church. There's Christians on Sunday mornings that attend church. I would just like that to be brought to attention as well. That was one of the reasons to be moving it from Sunday. I mean, if it's Saturday morning, I think would be fine. And the reason also was the last day of grading the regions. That was the reason for moving it, was to that day, which next year is gonna be a Friday.
Correct.
So a Saturday morning, I think.
But there's also people who have religious observances on Saturdays.
I think the key is to get a committee
Correct.
moving, because we need to get our
Yeah.
contractors out and booked.
Yeah,
before
we need
our
to do that very soon. So is it gonna meet soon? When,
Because we only lost.
Well, I'll be
Goldsberg
talking to
because
this.
of college.
Yes, now that the board has seated their representatives committee, then she'll be scheduled. But yes. On the graduation or something else.
That's,
Okay,
I just like to mention that was part of the beauty of having it on a Wednesday night, was that
Yeah.
there was no, generally, there could be minority amount that had a conflict with their religious observances, but as far as Saturday and Friday night and Sunday seemed to be not a problem. So perhaps, I'm not sure without looking, but the next year when our calendar ends, but if we had something maybe on a Thursday afternoon or to, anyway, that's to check out. So thank you.
some other things on my agenda tonight, the board will be acting upon the ratification of a new teacher's contract. I want to express my thanks to the Board of Education for their guidance on the negotiations. The negotiations team, Ms. Phelan, Ms. Carlin, and our legal counsel, and also the Monticello Teachers Association for, I think, what were very productive discussions and ultimately an agreement that will, balance our financial future with having competitive salaries and benefits for our teachers. And then lastly, just for informational purposes, the governor did pass a new APPR law. It requires that school districts update their APPR plans by June 30th of 2032. There's a lot more guidance forthcoming from state ed about how this is all going to roll out. But I think we, like many other districts around the state, are eager to make changes to our teacher and principal evaluation processes. And then I want to skip ahead to one more thing it's later on, and I think it's under correspondence. Sullivan County School Boards Association has put out their nomination form for outstanding educator and outstanding friend to education. I've shared this with administration, but we need to send in completed nominations by July 31st. My intention would be to have names or nomination packets for you at the next board meeting. If you think of anyone in the interim that you think I should consider, please send them through Tim. He'll pass them along to me, but all this should be in your board packet. That's all I have.
Any questions from Dr. Evans? Yes, Ashley?
So our interim high school principal, he had just a temporary term. So I would say typically there isn't an exit interview in this case because somebody wasn't resigning or let go or anything like that. But can we, I'm looking to see if that's possible for us to get an exit interview to get the information, because he was here for a full year, and I believe that he's got insight that would be invaluable to the knowledge of the board. So is that something that is to be done through HR, through?
Well, typically
Board?
the HR department does offer exit interviews for departing employees. And we take that information and process it in HR. Now, Dr. Furman, and we're grateful for his service, and we wish him luck, has, provided a lot of information to district administration, to Ms. Gore, on what next year looks like. we can consider extending an exit interview to him. However, I don't know logistically the extent to which we should be doing that for interim personnel.
So let's just say that hypothetically, he was an intern, but he, obviously was. And he gets an official exit interview. Is that something that the board sees, or we just don't see that unless we're asking for specifically? I just want to be clear because,
Well, and I don't believe that we actually give exit interviews to any employees. Do we still subscribe to the service that gives the questionnaire?
It's not a service any longer. We developed our own questionnaires.
But that's the exit interview.
For teachers and other stuff, like administrators are offered in person or email, questionnaire, anonymous questionnaires. And sometimes if they do it via the questionnaire, they don't give us our names. We may not know that it's a success. You can decline the in-person one, you can accept it. I don't know what it was offered.
Yeah, and we typically, in either event, we try to make it, the data that comes back to me, I don't want the person identified. Because I want them to be forthright with HR about what our practices and procedures. So by, making the request of him might not yield the results that an anonymous interview would produce.
Or sodium pentothal.
Any other questions for Dr. Evans? Thank you very much. Touched on your enrollment data, or are you good?
I'm good. That's just information that we do periodically.
Moving on to Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mrs. Bailey.
Thank you, President Currently, this evening I have the internal audit report and corrective action plan for the period January through March 24 that was presented to the audit committee on June 20th. I'm also asking the board to approve the milk and ice cream bids for the 2024-25 school year. The recommendation is the same vendors that we use this school year. I'm asking the board to appropriate fund balance to the TRS reserve, sub-fund reserve, and the employee benefit and liability reserve from the entrance conference with the external auditor. We identified those two reserve funds as being underfunded. So I'm asking the board to fund them up to the reserve plan document. And then I have 3 health and welfare contracts, one for Pine Bush and one for Tuxedo for the 23-24 school year, and one with Eldred for 22-23.
Any questions, Lisa? Ashley?
the highlighted milk and ice cream numbers, that's everything that we use. Is that why that was highlighted with yellow? Such as cotton candy Twister cup, adjusted price $14.88.
Oh, no, I guess that's their adjusted price. You would have to look at the estimated quantity in the far left column. That's what we requested. If we don't have a number in that column, even if with that adjusted price, it doesn't apply to us. So we only bid the items in the left-hand column. We bid half pints black tea, we bid half pints and 1% white milk, skim milk, chocolate and strawberry milk. We have some half and half creamers, but that no bids. That's all we bid for milk.
And I know we changed vendors because we wanted to see if we could have a better deal. How has it been going this past year?
This past year with Hometown went really well. We had them a couple of years ago and did have some issues with expiration dates and cartons that were dirty and whatnot, but this year we had no issues at all. They really did step up, so the recommendation is to stay with them.
No.
On the Eldred one, the resolution says 23, 24, can be attached
Bless
to
you.
22, 23. Just want to make sure that we are moving the correct year.
We should be approving 22, 23. They actually sent us an invoice and we a while ago and told them that we want a contract. They sent us the contract finally, so it is 22, 20.
Do we have to change the resolution?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's
can you just give us that?
the-
That's, oh, that's under.
No. the 12.
It's the same. Yeah, so it should be.
The attachments.
The attachment is.
Any other questions, Lisa? Sorry.
I just have a quick question. P3, there, it's empty, there's nothing there.
Right, because those were recommendations from the external auditor. So he had, at the entrance conference, actually had a document, and we shared that with the audit committee. It was only a couple of pages.
Okay. So we don't get to see that at the board?
We should have had it in the external audit report. Did we get?
It was just in the entrance conference. Yeah, I mean, I can upload it. It's
I
got,
just don't know what I'm approving at this evening before.
Well, T7 has the amount.
T7 does?
yeah,
Thank you. It wasn't there, I'm just like, I don't.
yeah, no, it's under my report, so it was just.
Thank you.
Misunderstood.
So we're good for Lisa? Thank you very much, Mrs. Finn. Moving on from there to Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Mrs. Carlin.
Thank you, President Crumley. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start off with the code of conduct. So at the next board meeting, there will be a public hearing, as we need to do every year annually, code of conduct. You should have received a draft copy of it. And just to kind of give you some updates, there was a code of conduct committee that met. I know Victoria was on that committee. I attended a couple of the first meetings that was led by Takima Killens. And Victoria, please feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting anything, but not a ton of changes within the code. It was more around language. So making the language a little bit more family friendly, a little less authoritative and harsh, a little more restorative in nature. So some of the wording was changed, or for example, one of the changes was around, instead of saying just guardian, it might have been mother, father, and guardian, those kinds of things, just being more inclusive of some of the language. Under the adjusted behavior violations within the code, absences and tardies and attendance were changed to be just a level 1, where before they were on level 1 and 2. The thought of the committee was to put students out of school as a punishment for not attending school kind of seemed counterproductive. So looking at some other ways to work around students that are truant and not coming as a way to restore that instead of being punitive. And then the only other thing that really was changed when CPS comes in to do investigations, in the code before, it said that they would go directly to the director of student support service, or I'm sorry, the director of PPS, where more it is through the counseling department. So that would be the director of student support services. But other than that, there were not any other changes. There were some obviously updating to administration for the changes that we saw with the high school principal and now the St. John's Street principal, but otherwise there were no other changes. But again, that draft is in your documents, and it will be at the next board meeting and a public hearing.
Can we get the changes that were made, like highlighted, because compared to 66 pages side by side is extremely time consuming. I know we do policy, they send it to us, if things are highlighted and when they're to be changed. Can we get this on here, things that are being changed, since it wasn't that much?
I mean, if that's what you want me to have a scheme on, back in review,
At least some detail where they're, referencing it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, to go personally, I will take one document and side by side, and that's gonna take me hours.
No, but I'm talking like a summary that has the reference of where the change is.
Well, I mean, I have that there was language changes to be more family friendly and, you
Well,
know,
that's sounds great, but I want to see it highlighted where, so when I compare, because it's gonna take me hours to do this without being highlighted. So it would be great if you could just say like, just highlight.
So
it
you're
here.
saying through the 66-page document, you're literally talking, it could be every other paragraph for an entire 66 pages where you were. So I mean, language changes in terms of parents, guardians, and it used to just say guardians, like that's a change. But do we need to see every minutia of change that way?
If I'm gonna approve something, I wanna see where the changes are. It's really unfair for us to sit here, for me to
I mean,
have.
I can understand a summary of like actual, like, the tardiness and bringing that back from these types of violations and then bringing it back to this type of violation. I mean, if the board wants to have our administration doing that, the board can vote on it.
I
But
would think that,
I have a question. Maybe you can check to see if it was done with track changes. Because
maybe it was.
maybe it was, and if it was, can we
Easy
just have a
peasy.
copy of the one with track changes? Sure.
If it was.
If it was,
Yeah, I don't.
and then I guess I'd like to propose, if it wasn't, maybe we could in the future.
Right.
Do that, but then if you could maybe email us like your list, like whatever, the tardiness, the absence and tardiness were changed from this to this, or like I had to just search the document for absences, I found it right away, but like just maybe written those things instead of just verbally, because I didn't catch them all, I was like trying to look at stuff all the time.
so I know that there were not track changes because Takima, unfortunately, when she started the committee, had gotten an Adobe version of the document, and they were working, I think you were working off of it handwritten as going through the committee, because they went through line by page, correct? For each meeting, and so she was taking notes on the document as the committee, and they met 3 or 4 times to go through the whole document. She then went in to try to make the changes through Adobe, and then recognized she had done it through Word, there would be
Right.
those changes, so I know that they don't exist, but we've made that fix for next year, so she's gonna be working from a Word document instead.
Good question. So we're talking about the attendance part of it. Is there anything I didn't see in here that relates to if you come in, you have to be here by 10 AM in order to be part of your extracurricular?
I think that's my.
I think for athletics, it's in there, and it might even be in the attendance policy itself.
I didn't see the.
I'm confident it's in the athletic, yeah, I've heard that being enforced.
Okay,
But relative to other extracurriculars that we have.
and then on the referral side of it, are they electronic? Yeah, so we can track how many times someone's getting a referral
Oh, yeah.
for.
Only if they turned in.
Well, right, assuming that they're done at the end.
And the last question, because I don't even know if it can be, but our superintendent hearings report.
Okay, so any other questions on the code?
so I just wanna make, so are you gonna, this gonna be highlighted for us? What are you? The next meeting's 2 weeks away, this could take me hours to do if I'm not gonna get highlighted.
Well, you were on the committee, right?
Right, but I didn't get to the last meeting.
Okay.
So I made a lot can happen between the last meeting. And a lot of notes, I mean, we worked in different groups, so I don't know like what exactly was being changed.
Okay,
And I think it's really unfair to give to the board a document and say, well, this language is changing, that language is changed, but here's 66 pages, go through it.
so I think if, it sounds like there isn't one that exists, but if there's a track document that does exist, we'll share that with the board. I think the substantive changes that are made relative to attendance, other like dispositions, we can create a summary document that shows, here's the 23-24 code, here's the 24-25 proposed change. As it relates to, changing, just parents to parents and guardians, or whatever other family-friendly language is used, I think that's going to be a tall order to find if it's not tracked already. And I don't think it's a substantive change in terms of how discipline is carried out or how parents and caregivers are informed of infractions. But we will in the future make sure that track that.
I just want to add on that I think it's truly a fair question and a request that if we have 66 pages, to have another document that correlates, that has everything underlined. If it said guardian and now it says mom, dad, and guardian, that doesn't really, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing, that shouldn't take much. That should take maybe an hour. And we're paying people, you know, for curriculum people. My expectation is that it makes it easier for me to go over a 66-page code of conduct. That's not some blip. It's actually an important document. So for me, I don't appreciate being told that it's fine, just pass it. We'll get it the next time. Well, maybe we won't get it the next time. And then where's the accountability? So I'm putting in my vote that I would like to see an underlined copy of the minor changes. If they're minor, they shouldn't be that much work.
Dr. Evans just ran through a fairly middle of the road option that to highlight the more substance issues would be, we would be given a rundown of what those changes were. To think that it would take an hour to then go through, because now you're going through line by line. I don't know if Takima, and you can look into this, if Takima has handwritten notes on a page where these were the changes that happened. Just copy and scan the 66 pages, and here's the handwritten notes, and this is the changes that were made in that doc.
I'm only asking her to do what I would have to do myself, as somebody who looks at other documents. I'm not paid to do it. So that's what I'm asking for.
Understand.
Thank you, with all respect.
With all respect.
That's what I'm asking.
God bless.
Thank you.
We could not go to conduct. Moving on to your other contracts.
So I have 2 additional contracts. One is with McGraw-Hill. That is for summer professional development with elementary teachers. For I think it's 5 different trainings with using the Wonders curriculum, especially for our newer staff. Our staff that started mid-year and did not have the training prior. And in addition, we have a contract for a consultant who is speaking at the NBK Day, which will be in about a week and a half. And that speaker is paid for through the NBK grant completely and falls under women and minority business, which is part of the requirement of NBK that we give a portion of the funding to women-owned and minority-owned businesses. Questions?
Yes, so this is under the Violence and Prevention Grant.
No, it's under the My Brother's Keeper.
So that's a separate grant. I thought that was partly with the violence prevention. It's not. It's a separate grant.
Completely separate.
And so that's 5,000 for a speaker. Are we going to so explain please the gist of what the topic is that will be talked about?
Well, you can access her website. If you Google her, there's a lot of information about this speaker and what she speaks on. So she is presenting at the event that is being paid for and provided by NBK. And as far as the topic that she's speaking on, I don't have any of that information directly in front of me, but when I looked at her website, I can get a gist of what topic she's speaking on.
Okay, so the reason why I asked you is because I didn't really want to go on Google. I do sometimes, I do, but I would prefer to have this stuff laid out to say what she's talking about. But I appreciate that that I know that it's through the grant, and I hope it is a good discussion. Thank you.
So there is, just for the public's information, there is a lot of detail about the event on our website, and including the keynote, Gwen Weber-McLeod. Public school data increasingly indicates students are struggling academically. Public schools, students, parents, faculty, and staff all play important roles in ensuring student success. Often these efforts happen in silos. Gwen Weber-McLeod believes a collaborative approach to student success is required to confront academic and societal challenges that are obstacles to students performing well in school It is imperative for students to experience a sense of belonging, believe they are academically capable, are guaranteed physical and psychological safety in and outside of the classroom. Gwen uses the idea that we are in this together and need each other to survive, make the case for increasingly collaborative approaches to working with students.
I just have a quick question. How much is the grant for the whole year? Is it renewed like every year? Is it like every
It's 125,000
A year.
for,
whole year? So every year that will be the grant.
well, it could change. We don't know until grant amount comes out, but for the current grant that we're under, that ends August 31st. And there's two grants. There's an MBK and then there's an MBK Fellows grant. They're two different grants.
And does she have to spend all this money by August 31st? Is there a lot to spend?
No, it's pretty well spent down.
Thank you.
Can this speech be videotaped, or are we not allowed? Is that under the policy? I read some things that said maybe you couldn't. It couldn't be videotaped unless it was her,
Yeah, I think there was some photography.
unless she agreed to it.
So yeah, I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Probably not. I don't know the answer. I mean, it's going to be open to any, so we're not planning to videotape it, but
So the thought is it's going to be about a sense of belonging and being in it together. Thank you.
I know postcards came home. Postcards that had a few speakers on them
Yes,
and a QR code to ours.
it's Saturday, July 13th, from 9:30 to 4 in the high school.
Any other questions for Mrs. Collins? Thank you very much, Teresa. Moving on to action items. Mrs. Greco.
Okay, so we're gonna start with T12. So first, I'd like to motion that the recommended action under T12 be amended to say, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approved the health and welfare service contract with Pine Bush, which one am I?
Eldred.
So that should be
Okay,
changed
it's
to Eldred.
It should be changed to Eldred Central School District, I believe, is their official title. For the 22-23 academic year per the attached, which does have the correct year.
Do I have a second on that? Made by Ms. Jersey. Any discussion?
Wait, it already says 22, 23 on it.
On the attachment, it says that, but on the recommended action above
Yeah.
that, be it resolved, she's correcting that verbiage up there. With that motion.
Okay.
The attachment contract is correct.
It's the resolution.
It's the resolution above that Adriana's addressing basically with that motion. So we're good on,
Recommended action specifically, editing.
so we're good on that discussion? Okay, all in favor? So forth.
Okay, so then, I'd like to motion that we take items T1 to T17 as a group, including the new and amended T12.
I have a second on that by Mr. Broden. Any discussion?
I'd like to remove T8, 9, 13, and 14 for discussion.
I'm sorry, what were the numbers again?
T8,
Mhm.
T9, T13, and T14. Thank you.
On the motion, I'd like the motion that we move action items T1 to T7, T10, T11, T12, T15, T16, and T17, and as a group.
Do I have a second on that? Any discussion? Anne Marie, did you get that?
I did, but who was your second?
My second was Jen Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered.
I motion that we approve T1 to T7, T10, T11, T12, T15, T16, and T17 as the group that we just approved.
Second by Mr. Broden. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered. Let's just go through these singles.
Yeah, I motion that we approve action item T8.
Second by Ms. Jersey. Any discussion?
Right, I just wanted to discuss separately that, when we get contracts, regardless of who it is, there needs to be a more, wealth of information, just to be the person. Just discussing it, we talked about it being, that it had to do with, the gist of what she typically talks about. But I think I just want to make more of, a defined, display of saying that I shouldn't have to go on Google to get information on somebody. I would have really appreciated just the topic and not just the gist of somebody. And it's not that, this isn't like there's the one and only time, there's been other times too. That's where I'm at with things. I just wanted to explain that this is things that happen here and there. It is only 5,000 comparatively. You know, there's some other grants are a lot more. So in this case, being 5,000 and it's part of a grant money, then I have no qualms, but I just wanted to just put that out there that typically, it's a topic that's beneficial in order to approve someone's speaker. That's all.
Any other discussion?
Well, it's attached, so the key card is attached, so it gives her kind of what they're doing there, keynote and meet our speakers, and that's where I got my information from. The room to next.
Any other discussion? All in favor, T8? Any opposed? Motion carries.
I motion that we approve action item T9.
Second by Ms. Jersey. Any discussion? Ms. Riley?
Okay, so approving the terms and conditions of employment for managerial and confidential employees. There are approximately 27 employees within this. As far as pay raises for this year, it is approximately just under 100,000 cumulative. So I realize that there are people that work their tail off and do a great job and they're worthy of raises. However, just as last board meeting, I have reservations in the amount of percent. And it's because of the cumulative cost. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Got that, Emery? Thank you so much, Mrs. Greco.
I motion that we approve action item T13.
Do I have a second on that? By Mr. Groden. Any discussion? Ms. Riley?
Okay. Similarly to T9, and similarly to last week, same situation goes. It's the percent increase, and if it's across the board with everyone, it's not anything personal. So there's that, and then also on the, it's probably more for different session, but that's what I'll say about T13. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? 52. Motion.
Who's seconded that? I'm sorry.
Groden. Motion carries. Ms. Greco,
I motion that we approve action item T14.
do I have a second on that? Made by Mr. Groden. Any discussion?
Okay, about legal counsel, my issue with this is that it's for 3 years and not a singular year. My other concern with this is that I think that it should be opened up to perhaps more lawyers that would bring another different insight. So right now, I think our lawyers are very capable, but I would like to see more information on on another, perspective. So had it been for a year, that would be a different situation perhaps, but the fact that it's for 3 years, I'm not approving this. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Anne Marie, could you please count them all up and make sure that we have for T1 through T17 all covered? I believe we do.
I
You
did.
have it?
My checklist says yes, but I wouldn't
Okay.
mind the
So
second.
we're good.
Okay, I just,
So I have a second on the fact that we got it all. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. So moving on to closing of meeting, correspondence. There's listed the nomination forms for the Sullivan County School Boards Association, Outstanding Educator and Friend of Educator. So please look that over. If anybody has any recommendations, please bring them forward so we can get them passed along. Anne Marie, has anybody signed up for questions or comments from the public?
No.
Thank you so much. Motion to adjourn. Made by Mr. Groden, seconded by Mrs. Holmes. Any discussion? All in favor? So ordered. Thank you so much.
And all right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mom, you got that out there.
yeah.